Hey, what's up guys? So I got a few messages about my little toothless and about his texture and color and things like that. So I just wanted to tell you about a few things that will help your sculpts look a little bit more realistic in Nomad Sculpt. So one of the things that's really important is the texture of the skin, like the material that you're using for the skin. You can see that I have him very matte. Like he's a very matte color, and then his little spots are a little glossier. You can see they sort of catch the light a little more than his skin. So, and it's pretty simple. So let's just tap his body. Well, we'll do his head. So we'll tap him on the head, and then this right here is the paint. And you have some colors up here, but you can also move around to whatever color you want. And the most important thing here is, like, let's say he's red. Let's say we want him to be like a reddish color. So I put it on the red, and then I do paint all. And you can see my roughness. So if I move the roughness up, it's very, very matte. Let me do paint all. It's very, very matte. If I do the opposite, if I turn the roughness down, then it'll get very glossy. Paint all. So now it's extremely glossy. Oops. So now it's very glossy. So this would be like if it was made of porcelain or something like that. So that's pretty much how I do the texture of the skin. I'm just very cognizant of what texture I'm making it and the textures that I'm using. It's always good to vary the textures. So for example, the spots that I did were a little bit more, they have a little bit more. Let's see, I'm gonna use the paint, and I'm just gonna color grab this color right here with my finger, and I'm gonna use the same color. I'm gonna go a little bit darker, and then I'm gonna lower the roughness so it's a little more glossy. And I think the way that I did those little spots is I took clay, and you can use the tools in conjunction with coloring. So that's what this is here. So if it's a line through it, it's off. If the line is on, then whatever color you have chosen, the tool is going to implement that color. So let's just turn the intensity up, and we have the brush here. We can turn symmetry off. We don't need that. So clay will build up like a layer above whatever you're sculpting on. So let's just see how this looks. See, it kind of raises up, but it's also glossier than his skin. So that's pretty much how I did these little bits. I think I had the intensity down. I might have had the brush lower, and I might have just did, you know, something like this. I think that's how I did it. But there's a few ways you can do things like that. But I just wanted to make sure, looking at the reference, I noticed that these were a little bit shinier than his skin. So I just pay very close attention to the materials, and that's right here in the paint. Just remember that roughness makes it really rough, and then if you take away the roughness, then it's really glossy. And also metalness makes it look more like metal. And honestly, just play around with it, with different colors and things like that, and you'll know exactly what it does. Another thing that's really important is your environment. So right now I have a lot of lights on. So if I turn them all off, now the only thing that's being lit, the only thing that's lighting it is the environment. So that's down here. You can see I have my own, and I created these in Procreate because I always like the eyes when they have a big, you know, that big white pop of light there. So that's how I designed this environment. And essentially, if you want to do the same thing, if you want to experiment, just go to Procreate, just make like a long, like a, I don't remember how long these are. I think it's like 4K, a 4K size. Just look up 4K and make that size canvas, and then just put some circles and put some shapes on it. And then you can bring it into Nomad. You can just press the plus, and you can import the photo. So that's what I've done. I just wanted to let you know how I brought these in. It's pretty simple. Just remember it's in this little option here, the shading, lights, and environment. And these will all give a different, see, this is mine down here. These will all give different shine to his eyes. And this goes back to what I was talking about before. The body and everything is fairly matte, but the eyes, which are glossy, and if I tap on the eyes, you'll see, let's see if I grab this color here. So I grab that color, and I have the roughness all the way down. So that's what gives it the eyes nice, a nice difference from everything else on his body, because the eyes are really, really glossy. Lighting is really, really important, and there's one thing that I do, it's sort of just to keep it simple. One thing that I like to do is I'll color the background, whatever color it is, whatever the scene is, whatever the floor is. So I use the sky. See right now, like if he's in like this sort of void room that's this color blue, and since all this light is around him, that's why I use the color lights that I do. So for example, I have a light here kind of lighting up the back, and you can see the light is the same color as the background. And I have another light here that's sort of lighting up everything, giving him a nice shadow. And then I have another light here, and you can see that this light is a little bit brighter, but it's also the same color. All my lights, or most of these lights, are around the same color as the background. So essentially, you just want to use the colors of your environment to color your character, because we probably don't notice super harsh colors like this, or not harsh, but very colorful colors, unless we're somewhere fun or there's neon lights or something like that. But when we're in a room, sometimes the lights are really cold and really warm. That's what you might notice in real life. Some people's houses have really cold lights or really warm lights, and that will affect, like if someone takes a picture in that room, the temperature of the lights will affect how we look. So it's the same thing for this. So it's the same thing for 3D. Whatever the room color is, then I'll just use those colors to add lights to my character, and that will keep everything cohesive and keep it looking realistic. The position of the lights is kind of tricky at first, but just remember that you usually have to, or I usually have to reset the lights and set them specifically on the pose. So if I pose him like this, if I do a pose like this, and then I want to save the image, the light really isn't optimized for him to be in this position, so I'd have to move them around, because I want to get some really bright pops, along the edges, maybe like another bright pop along this edge, maybe along here, something to lighten up his chest and sort of get some separation. Those are all the things that I'm thinking about when I'm lighting. And as you can see, it's lit for him to be probably about here. I think this is just about maybe a little bit of that wing showing. So it's lit to be just about here. So you're seeing all of this light hit him on this side. So you're seeing it hit this arm and the wing and the back of the neck, a little bit on the top of the head. So just think about your lights coming from the different positions. That will give it a really cool, realistic look, and it will give it a lot of depth to make it look more realistic. So lastly, another quick way, if you're kind of stuck, or if you're not sure how you want to light it, and different things like that, you can always use Metcaps. So I think that's where the Metcaps. So if you go in the same window here, PBR is just what it's on by default. That's the normal color, but you can do Metcap, and you can see it's a weird color now. Let me show you. Let me just open a new one. So PBR is white, Metcap is, see, it's this color. I usually like to, okay, this is the one that I usually use. And you see there's light coming from here, light coming from here, a shadow here. So a Metcap is basically a set look. So it's not actually light shining, it's just the illusion of light shining on a shape. So if I was to sculpt the toothless and use this Metcap, it would still look pretty cool, because all the lighting would be just like this sphere is. So you can look at all the different Metcaps. Just go below here, and you'll see, for example, like lighting like this. You have white on this side, and then you have a light here. And just think about why these look the way that they look. This actually looks a little bit strange. Let me see if I can change this. The rotation looks a bit weird. See, if you do the rotation, then you can see that it's really kind of awkward looking. But this kind of goes to show how something would be lit. So if you have a bright light coming here, a bright light sort of behind where you're sort of getting like a little pop of light, a soft light sort of coming from the front, sort of hitting this area here. Just think about things like that. And you can look through different Metcaps and sort of get ideas. And once you pay attention to how things are lit, you know, this obviously is like a cool color, but then you can see there's a light shining from this direction. There's a light, maybe that's not too bright, but it's hitting here. There's some shadows here, and you can see there's like a warm color. There's like a dark shadow, and then there's a warm color. So that might be a warm light sort of behind it, sort of hitting it ever so slightly. But those are the things that really, really make a difference. And really, did I do that? They really make a difference in your sculpt. I do have a Skillshare class about lighting, about just going through all the tools. So make sure you check out the Skillshare classes too if you want to know more about lighting. I get really in depth, but I don't want to go too in depth here because I will be up all night talking about it. I love lighting. And for example, for the Metcap, this one is all white. It's not a Metcap because I've lit the scene, but this will look better at Metcap because it's all white. So if I go to Metcap, you see this one is black. Then you have, you know, just different colors. And just remember that along with the colors and the skin tones and things like that, the material as well, like your environment, also plays a role. Your environment also, where is it at? I get lost sometimes. Let me put it back on PBR. Your environment also plays a role in the color of things, in the tint of things. See how different the color is? When you go to different environments, it plays a major role in the color of your sculpt. You can also turn that off and just do the lighting. And I recommend that first, if you're just doing lighting, to get used to that, turn the environment off and just do the lighting. Get the lighting looking good. And then use your, I'll use the one that I always use, my regular one. And then use this, you know, you can make it darker or brighter. Just use this to sort of fill in if it needs a little bit of extra light. But to practice lights, just turn the environment off. And then when you're done, when your lights look good, then you can turn the environment on. That's what I always do. But anyway, hope that was helpful. And I will have to post this to one person on Facebook in the Nomad group who was just asking me about this. Hopefully this was helpful. And if you have any questions, just leave them in the comments. And hopefully this helps some other people too. All right, keep drawing, keep sculpting. I'll catch you all